What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Cali Kid Official Podcast. This is episode number 33, so let's get right into it. So this past week, we had the next versus battle between Brandy and Monica, and it was a very eventful affair. It actually broke the record for versus viewers on Instagram with over 1.1 million viewers. So that was dope. You know, two black queens got together, two black queens in R&B and music period got together and did numbers. So we're gonna go through with each round. So it started off with Brandy going first. Round one, we had What About Us versus Everything to Me, which this song samples Silly Me by Denise Williams. I gave that round to Monica. Second round, we had He Is versus You Remind Me. That song samples Curtis Mayfield. I gave that one to Monica. Round three, we have Full Moon versus So Gone. I gave that a tie. Both of those are very classic records. Then we had I Wanna Be Down versus Just One of Them Days. I gave that a tie. It seems when Brandy was trying to make a comeback in the battle, like Monica to come with something that'll even it out. So I saw that kept happening throughout the event. But round five, we had Baby ×3 versus Like This and Like That. I gave that one to Brandy. Round six, we had Still I Love You versus You Should Have Known Better. I gave that a tie. Then round seven was when, you know, the tears came in. They started playing their tribute and heartfelt songs. We had Missing You, and while she was playing this, she gives respects to, you know, some of the people we lost, you know, like Nipsey, Whitney, MJ, Kobe, Chadwick, and others. And then Monica played I Will Cross the Ocean. I personally thought that Brandy's record was better, so I gave that one to her. Then for round eight, we had Almost Doesn't Count versus Why I Love You. I gave that to Monica. Round nine, we had Broken Promise versus Love All Over Me. I gave that to Brandy. And then we had a momentary break, and Monica introduced her new single with Future called Trenches. Then round 10, we had Sitting on Top of the World versus Still Standing. I gave that to Brandy. Then we had, for round 11, Borderline versus Commitment. I gave that to Brandy. And then round 12, we had Love Again featuring Daniel Caesar versus Slow Jam. I gave that to Monica. Round 13, we had Put It Down featuring Chris Brown versus The First Night. I personally like the Brandy record more, so I gave that one to her. Then for 14, we had Who Is She to You versus Knock Knock / Get It Off. I gave that to Monica. Round 15, we had Best Friend / she played a partial version of the Moesha song, but as she was saying, there's some type of copyright or lawsuit dealing with that song, so she's not able to like perform it, because like she was very hesitant to try to perform it, so there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But we had that versus Never Meant to Cause No Pain. I gave that one to Monica. Then for round 16, we had Sitting Up in My Room versus Every Time the Beat Drop. I gave that to Brandy. Round 17, we had Talk About Our Love featuring Kanye versus Sideline Ho. that was funny. Brandy was like, "Oh, apologize to her daughter for saying that," but they were joking though. There's a lot of joking throughout the event. But for that round, I gave it to Monica. Then round 18, we had Put That on Everything versus Give It All to Me. I gave that to Monica. Round 19, we had When You Touch Me versus Just Right for Me featuring Lil Wayne. I gave that to Brandy. And then round 20, we had Have You Ever versus Angel of Mine, and I gave that a tie because, you know, both of those records were dope. So after round 20, we got a bonus record. They performed their joint single Boy Is Mine, and that pretty much ended the show. So it ended up being a tie for me. I gave 8 rounds to Brandy, 8 rounds to Monica, and I have 4 ties. So those 4 could have went either way, but it was a very dope affair. Timberland was commenting in the comments saying, wait until you see who we have next. So I'm guessing it's going to be a very big name. These verses is getting better and better. It's crazy how it was before up until now. The sound quality is very much improved. You know, it's like it's a more intimate atmosphere. You have both artists in the same room with each other, and then oftentimes you have the artists reminisce about things that happen in their careers, and we get some untold stories. So it's always a dope event, and can't wait to see which one is next. But moving on from that, we also got some new music released this week. Several artists dropped projects: 6ix9ine, Big Sean, several other artists. But I'm gonna get into the Big Sean and 6ix9ine projects. So up first, we got 6ix9ine. He dropped his sophomore album, Tattle Tales. It has 13 songs. It includes features from Akon, Smiles Left Side, and Lil AK, which is DJ Academic's stage name. My favorites from this was Locked Up 2, Tutu, Wait, Charlie, Leah, and Gata. And overall, I gave it a 12 out of 16, which comes out to about a 75% or a 7.5 out of 10. You know, people gonna hate on him, but it was some cool songs on there. You know, some of the songs I've heard already, and then, you know, I think from hearing them so much, I kind of like wasn't really feeling them, and then there was some other joints on there that I didn't like. But overall, it was an okay body of work. But moving on from that project into Detroit 2 by Big Sean, this has been waited upon by, you know, the music community for a while. Detroit, before this project, to me was his best body of work by far, and he didn't fail to disappoint with this Detroit 2. It was a masterpiece for me, but we're gonna get into it. So it had 21 songs, and it had features from Nipsey Hussle, Post Malone, Ty Dolla $ign, Jhené Aiko, Dave Chappelle, which you're gonna see different people that you probably want to think be on here, but their parts are more so them telling stories about Detroit and whatnot, which is what Dave's role was on here. And interestingly enough, Dave Chappelle ended up meeting Big Sean's father, and I think that's how that connection was made. But the other features were Dwelle, Anderson .Paak, Early Mac, Wale, Young Thug, Hit Boy, Travis Scott, Key Wayne, Diddy, Erykah Badu. She was one of the other stories that I was talking about. Lil Wayne, T Grizzly, Cash Doll, Cash Kid, Payroll, 42 Doug, Bodie James, Drago, Sada Baby, Royce da 5'9", Eminem, Stevie Wonder, and Dom Kennedy. It was dope on there's this cypher record on the project where basically he got all the up and coming as well as the established Detroit artists on one song. So I thought that was a good look for that city. But my favorites from this album was Why Would I Stop, Lucky Me, Deep Reverence, Wolves, Body Language, Harder Than My Demons, Everything, and Everything That's Been Missing. So on the track Lucky Me, he talks about being diagnosed with a heart disease at 19 and how his mother took him to some type of holistic doctor, and they gave him magnesium and some other stuff. And when they went back to the doctors, the procedure that they were going to try to move forward with, they put on the back burner. And he said to himself, it was at that moment I realized that Western medicine was trash. So, there's a natural remedy for everything. You just have to have the knowledge, of it. Other things about this record that was pretty interesting, there was like 3 to 5 different beat switches, which, made the song very interesting, gives you different moods and feelings. So I thought that was dope. And then on Deep Reverence, which was the single and the track with Nipsey, he talks about reaching out to Kendrick after Nipsey's death, and they basically felt as though their tension with each other was a bit of nothing. It was more so a lack of communication and egos being involved and each side not trying to back down or whatever. So I thought it was cool that they got together and talk about that. He also talks about losing a child, and something that heavy can put you in a deep state of depression, and he talks about that a lot on the project. In fact, in the same song, he actually said he talked about suicide with the line, "Had the Glock 17 right beside me." So, it's good that, his mental stability is healing, because, once your mental goes, everything else goes. So, but the other track we had, Everything That's Been Missing. This track was very self-reflective. He basically talks about how all the things he wanted, he's already accomplished, and what's next after that. So it goes, "I wonder how it feel to be rapping, swear that's my fucking passion. How it feel to go platinum, swear that's my dream, but he too blind to see that. If he doing what he love in his free time, then his dream already happened." So basically he's saying he already accomplished his goals of becoming a rapper and going platinum. Then he says, "It's not about the trophy, it's about what it took to grab it. And if you feel stagnant, just know you're attracting the energy." He's saying it's not about the prize, it's about what you did to get the prize. Were you true to yourself, or did you compromise yourself to get to, where you wanted to be? And he says, he's talking about, you put out positive, you get positive. You put out negative, you get negative. And I believe that's true. What you put out into the world comes back to you, better known as karma. He said that you put out there, you're a walking magnet. Life can be a struggle, but what isn't that's worth having, huh? New life starts with a blank canvas. Trying to find yourself, you move to Los Angeles, where the camera's off, but where the camera's off, you're still not off camera. Yeah, so this right here is talking about the people that move to LA in the hopes of making it big, but oftentimes they, come into financial debt and end up becoming homeless and possibly doing things that they otherwise wouldn't have done if they hadn't moved to the city. That's something that's been going on for a long time. Then he says, "And that meeting that's supposed to change your life keep getting canceled. Swear my prayers gonna get answered for these execs answer." So yeah, this is him once again talking about people trying to get different interviews and jobs and stuff, and they're getting the cold shoulder. And the person that's pursuing these jobs are believing that their call is going to be answered or whatever. Then he says, "Shit, expenses get too expensive, but you gonna do what it takes to do the digits. Even do the dishes, because you got to prove to the world how you committed." Basically he's saying it's going to get expensive trying to live in that world, but you're going to do whatever it takes to try to live in that world. And you got to do that to prove to others that you're committed to what it is you set your mind to. Then he says, "You got a whole city to inspire. It's so cold in a D, so through their eyes you on fire." So basically he's probably talking about poverty and those with less than, and through their eyes they see that you're on fire. They see that you made it out. So you're their shining light because you come from the same area as them. Then he says, "Going platinum once is like catching lightning in a bottle, but you do it 50 times and you realize contracts say a lot between the lines." So yeah, every artist have dreams of their records doing well, going platinum, and then once you've done it a bunch of times, it becomes like a monotony everyday type of thing. And then the more successful you get, the more that comes with it. And these labels put things in the fine print to keep artists, in slave-like deals. So that's basically what he's talking about. And then he says, "But through the ups and downs, you make a blueprint that the city can build their own way out. And when they do, it's gonna feel like that you almost did it. And you buy everything you want, but it barely makes you different. And find out random bitches can't even compare to commitment." So basically saying once you get all the money and fame, you basically, once you have it all, you're not mentally sustained. You have all these women that you can get, but there's no stability. It's a different woman or man if you're a woman in this situation every night, and it doesn't compare to one steady person, commitment, a foundation to build upon. So he basically taking you through the rundown of going from rags to riches and everything that comes with it. Then he says, And you learn hearing doubts doesn't mean you have to listen. And you can't believe how much you made, not money, a difference. And find out everything you had was everything you missing. Basically right here, he's talking about once you get to that level, you realize the difference you're making in other people's lives. You know, you become a beacon of hope. You become a symbol of it's possible. And then he's saying at the same time you have all this stuff, you're missing out on family time and everything like that. So, and those are things you can't get back. So that was dope. That was a very dope record. That was a very dope record. And then one of the lines he said that I thought was funny, he said, I had people in my business, but they didn't support it. Yeah, you know, you got people that be in your business, and then when you actually do something, you know, like starting a business or whatnot, you know, people don't support it. They just support it once it's established, but they don't support it from the ground up. So overall, I thought the project was dope. I gave it a 19 out of 21, which comes out to a 90%. So this was dope. This was very dope. It was very well put together. The production was dope. The storytelling, it had everything you want in here. Turn up records, conscious records, introspective records, skits. It had everything you would want on a project. So to me, out of all the projects I've heard this year, this is probably my favorite. So that was dope. But moving on from that, we got some news in the media. So apparently rapper Silento, you know, the person that made the Nene song, he's got himself into some trouble. So apparently he was arrested for domestic dispute charges in Orange County, and then the following day he went to someone's home in San Fernando Valley, I guess looking for his girlfriend, and he was brandishing a weapon. So that mess is crazy, you know. Watch me slash, then watch me slash. Ooh, slash. Nah, but that shit is crazy. It's like, you know, he obviously has to be dealing with something, Pete, to be spiraling out like this. And now the situation has basically landed him 2 felony charges of assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah, it says he was booked and released on a charge of inflicting corporal injury on a spouse or cohabitant. Then on Saturday, August 29th, a hawk popped up about an hour away in San Fernando Valley, and according to the report, stormed into a stranger's home looking for his girlfriend. Hawk was reportedly wielding a hatchet as he frightened the homeowners and their children. No one was harmed during the incident. It didn't take long for officers to find him a block away. The rapper has been charged with 2 counts of assault. And lo and behold, it's a woman involved in the situation, so whatever relationship or whatever he was involved in was toxic, but this looked like some type of he's going through something, probably mentally, you know, and it's unfortunate something like that happened. That's why you gotta surround yourself with positive people and don't involve yourself in situations like that. But moving on from that to sports, so Cam Newton has officially been named the starter for my New England Patriots. I'm a New England Patriots fan, been one for a while. Brady's my favorite player, but he's in Tampa. But, you know, my Patriots, they should do well this year as well. But he not only was he named a starter, he was named one of the captains, and that shows the impression that he's had on the team. He's gotten praise from both the players and the coaches, so that was dope. So he, along with David Andrews and, you know, James White, they will be the offensive captains. I believe on defense, Lawrence Guy, Jawan Bentley, and Jason McCourty, those are the new defensive captains, because we had several starters sit out for the year due to the COVID, so they had to name some new starters. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. The season starts next week, so that should be cool. We play the Dolphins first game, and it's at home, so that should be interesting. See Cam Newton, that's going to give us another dimension to our offense. The ability to scramble at the quarterback position. Also in the NFL, we got a couple of players signing new deals. So the Seahawks, they re-signed Josh Gordon to a 1-year deal. He's been out again because of his marijuana use. So he's still waiting to be reinstated. But it's looking like he's going to get to play this season, more than likely. Because really, a person shouldn't be suspended from football because they smoke weed. That's kind of crazy. But Leonard Fournette, he landed with the new team, the Bucs. So that team is going to be loaded. He signed a 1-year deal with them. The numbers for that deal hasn't come out, but I'm thinking it might be in the $3 million range. A 1-year prove-it deal, if you will. So the Bucs is probably going to be the most watched team this year because they got all these new parts. Tom Brady at quarterback, Gronk. Then you got Leonard Fournette. Then you got who else you got? You got Mike Williams, I believe, at receiver. That team is loaded. So it's going to be interesting to see how all those pieces are put together. But moving on from that to the NBA Finals. So round 2 has started. The Lakers will be the last team to start their second round playoff game due to, the Rockets and the Thunder going 7 games. So first series, we have Milwaukee versus Miami, and Miami is giving Milwaukee everything they can handle. They built a 2-0 lead, and it's not looking good for the first seeded Bucks. Pretty much the Achilles heel of that team is if you can slow down Giannis, then the team pretty much suffers for the most part. But yeah, that series looking like it's gonna be a sweep. And then of course Houston versus LA. I'm picking the Lakers to win that. Probably in 5 games they could sweep that because Houston struggled with the Thunder, and LA has more firepower. They got that length, so they're gonna be able to abuse Houston in the paint. Then we get Toronto versus Boston. This one was looking like a sweep as well, but at the last second, Toronto managed to pull off a win with a buzzer beater. So the series is now 2-1 with Boston up 1 game. And then Denver versus the Clippers. The Clippers are up 1 game. So I don't know. The Clippers, Denver, they got some firepower. This game could go probably 4 or 5 games, 6 at the most. But I think Miami is going to sweep the Bucks if they don't change their act. But moving on from that, into some more serious news. So apparently there's been several operations taking place across the U.S. to recover, missing kids, and they've found a bunch of them in Georgia as well as Ohio. I wanted to cover both of those because this isn't really being talked about on the news. I mean, it's on websites and stuff, but this should be on every news channel. So in Georgia, 39 kids were found, and the operation is called Not Forgotten. It says 26 were rescued and 13 safely located, and their ages range from 3 to 17. 9 criminals associated with this situation have been arrested. So that's dope that's going on, and that those kids have been reunited with their family, because kids is kidnapped and then trafficked and all types of weird ass shit that be going on. But it's good that happened. And then the second one took place in Ohio. This one is called Operation Safety Net. It says they recovered 25 missing children in Ohio within the first 2 weeks. These sting operations that they've put together have been very, very effective. So that's dope as well. And then I was reading somewhere it said that the governor of Georgia banned people involved in trafficking their truck driving licenses, because a lot of times that's how they smuggle these kids around. They put them in the back of trailers and all types of inconspicuous vehicles and stuff like that. So it's dope that that this was done. Yeah, right here it says Georgia Governor Kim signs new law to strip human traffickers of commercial driver licenses for life. Yeah. So if you guys want to read more about this, just type in Georgia missing children, Ohio missing children, and the articles and stuff should pop up. But moving on from that into China, a lot has been going on in China. They've been dealing with flooding, very severe flooding, and China is a very important figure when it comes to exportation of different foods and materials. Pretty much mostly everything is made in China nowadays, and they've been dealing with widespread flooding, which has damaged buildings. It said over 200 people have died, millions displaced. Food crops have been destroyed. Not all of them, but a good portion of them. It also says the Yangtze Belt area, which is where the flooding is at its heaviest, accounts for 40%, or roughly 40% of its population, 600 million, and 50% of its export value and 45% of its GDP, which that area by itself will be the third largest economy in the world. So if this flooding doesn't subside, it's going to have dire consequences for different places within the world, and then it's also going to cause the prices of rice and soybeans and stuff like that to go up. So right here it talks about one of the farmers, how he lost his harvest. Bao Wen Tao's family farm. It says more than 36 acres of rice fields that 19-year-old Bao and his father tend to in their village has been engulfed by heavy flooding. The crops have completely failed, and they've lost roughly $28,000 worth of produce. The rice was nearly ripened and ready to harvest before flooding, but now everything is gone. Surging floodwater burst the banks of Poyang Lake in Jiangxi province last month, destroying thousands of acres of farmland, and was known as the land of fish and rice. For farmers like Bao and his father, the damage has been devastating. Not only did the rainfall ruin crops they were about to cut, but the scale of the flooding made it impossible to salvage anything from this year. So, as you know, with farmers, there's a period that you go through of, you plant, and then once the crop is ready to harvest, you harvest it, and then that takes months to a year to do. And so basically all that progress has been wiped out. It says the flooding that walloped Bao's farm and 13 million more acres of cropland, about the size of West Virginia, is the worst that China has experienced in years. China's Ministry of Emergency Management pegs the direct economic cost of this disaster at $21 billion in destroyed farmland, roads, and other property. Some 55 million people, including farmers like Bao, have been affected. That's a lot. The disaster is bad news for the world's second largest economy, which is already in a fragile state because of the coronavirus. Yeah, it's like they hitting that area hard. Like, you get a virus, then you get this flooding. So it's like, what's in the air over there? Beijing has so far been able to secure food supplies by importing vast amounts of produce from other countries and by releasing tens of millions of tons of strategic reserves. And then, like their dam, the Three Gorges Dam, they said it should hold, but it's nearing capacity. And if the flooding doesn't stop, that could be bad. Because if that fails, that, man, pray for China. This shit is crazy. It says tense relationships between China and much of the Western world and the coronavirus pandemic may make importing a lot of food trickier in the future. The flooding in China, meanwhile, could soon get worse. Heavy rainfall is expected through much of this month. Officials warn that flooding could creep further north, threatening the country's wheat and corn harvest. So far, the rice and soybean is the most hit harvest. So if it is to hit the wheat and corn too, this can cause widespread famine, and a lot of people are gonna lose their life if this doesn't subside. But they have reserves from what the article says, so that's good. But as you can see, all is flooding. That's crazy. It says it's not entirely clear how much of China's food supply may be at risk. since the government hasn't released specifics. That's probably not to cause panic. Because if the public knows how much they have, and then once it get close to them using all of what they have, that's going to cause widespread panic and chaos. And so they probably did that so that wouldn't happen. It said if the flooding is contained by the end of August, agriculture GDP could fall by nearly a percentage point in July to September quarter, according to analysis at Nomura, equivalent to more than 1.7 billion in lost agricultural output. Analysts at Chinese brokerage firm Xinwen Hongguan, meanwhile, recently estimated that China could lose 11.2 million tons worth of food compared to last year, given how much cropland was damaged by mid-July. That would be equivalent to 5% of the rice that China produces. 5%. So they produce about 200 million tons of rice a year, a little over that. The damage might be worse though. Yeah, so this article is on CNN if you guys want to look into it. But yeah, this right here is like a graphic of them comparing food reserve release for this year versus last year, and it's basically a five times as much in terms of rice, a little more than twice as much in terms of corn, and about, I'd say, 120% more in soybeans. But you have to. But you know, hopefully things improve. You know, it's unfortunate when things like this happen. But, you know, a lot of things be man-made disasters, and then things get out of hand, and then we get situations like this. Moving on from that into some television. So Power Book 2 is set to return this weekend. This is going to be following the aftermath of Ghost being killed. Is basically going to tell the story of Tasha and Tariq. We also get introduction of some new characters. Mary J. Blige, she's going to be on here. Method Man, a couple of others. So I'm very much interested in to see what book 2 has in store for us, because 50 and them, they've created pretty much an entire multiverse for Power. You know, this is something you usually see with comics, so they did it for this show. So there's going to be several spin-offs, and this is the first one that is up. But that's going to pretty much do it for this week's podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Before you go, be sure to leave a like and a comment below if you're listening and watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Anchor, Spotify, and everywhere else, I also appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure you guys take care of yourself, and until the next one, peace.